What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Turkey Day. Um, Happy Thanksgiving. Just remember, today is not a beautiful day for a lot of people. It's also I'm starting. The more and more I pay attention to this holiday, it seems very white. It seems like a very Caucasian holiday. I'm not too sure about it, but I've listened to a few podcasts and they're all white people talking about it. But it seems like Thanksgiving is a very Caucasian based holiday, and I feel I feel like I'm lacking in intelligence just now realizing this because it was, Christopher Columbus just started wrecking up the Native Americans, and he was as white as they can get. I mean, he was the epitome of a white asshole. Like, he came over here, threw some blankets at some Native Americans and said, "Hey, thank you for teaching me how to grow elote," which is corn in Spanish. And then he followed it up by killing them all and giving them a bunch of diseases and just rolling up out of there after slaughtering them all. So, but happy Thanksgiving. Not a fan. It's okay. It's not like like we need to just get it out of the way up front real quick. It's not that good. It's just not. Like, the way that you judge a quality Thanksgiving dinner is not off the is not from the turkey. It's not from the ham. Anybody who says that the turkey is the most important part of Thanksgiving is lying to you. First of all, it's an ugly bird. Second of all, Virginia Tech keeps all the birds, all the turkeys, in like this little pen out there, and they put the turkeys there. Donald Trump or like Obama, whoever's the president, anoints, he pardons one turkey. It's weird being at Tech because they're Virginia Tech, because their mascot's a turkey, but they eat turkeys, so it's a very strange thing. It seems a little cannibalistic or a little Satanist, Satanism-ish. I don't know the word, but happy Thanksgiving or not happy Thanksgiving. If you're Native American, it's probably a hard time. I think I'm like 25% Native American. I'm either 25 or I'm 12.5%. I think my great grandmother was straight up Native American, and my great grandfather came in from Ireland, hooked up with her, and they had a kid who was my grandfather, who I never met, who passed away from lung cancer and fought in World War II. So if my great grandmother was 100%, my grandfather's 50%, my mom would be 25 and I would be 12.5. I'm not a geneticist, but I think that's how it works. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But I do know it's Thanksgiving, and the only way you can judge a Thanksgiving meal is not with the turkey. It's not with the ham. It's with the use of the side dishes. That's the only thing that matters. The mac and cheese, first of all, I rarely go. No, that's not true. I guess I always go to Thanksgiving with this mac and cheese, but there has to be mac and cheese. Stuffing's weird, right? It's just all it is just it's wet bread. It's moist, damp, juicy, cold bread with isn't it like the insides of a turkey, stuff like that? Or no, I don't think they put the gizzards in there. But then the drippings of the pan. It's weird. And also the weirdest thing about Thanksgiving is I've always been kind of a germaphobe. Not like the biggest germaphobe around, but definitely always slightly. Like, I've had a little bit of germaphobe inside of my genes. Like, I'm probably like 1% to between 1 to 5% germaphobe. And I hate when people talk over a buffet or if there's food out. I hate if it's not covered. And depending on depending on who your family is, will forecast if the food is covered or not covered. If it's not covered, it's disgusting. It just is. It's disgusting. It has to be covered. And you can't pick it up with your hands. That's just nasty to me. That's another thing. So when I am eating, if I can't be the first one in line, I will sit there and I will watch everybody grab their food. And if somebody's like talking a lot over the food, especially if it's like your drunk uncle, because there's always that one person at the family gathering who's like way too intoxicated and they shouldn't be there. and they're probably like divorced like 6, 7 times. And you're like, what are you doing here? Like, I would never speak to you unless the only way I'm speak to you is because we're somehow related by blood. But they're always the ones who are just packing loogies across the mac and cheese, skidding across the sweet potato mash, taking a head dive into like the turkey. And then the ham, there's always a part of the ham that if you bite into too much, it's like this intense sense of like sugary saltiness. It's disgusting. And I think ham is just, what is ham? I think it's just pork fat. It's like literally pork ass. Ham is pork from a leg that has been preserved by wet or dry curing. So it's literally it's like you can see the leg in there. It'd be like eating my quad, right? But their quad's really fatty. Mine's much, I think, more muscular. But what is there different types of ham? I digress a little bit. There is boneless ham and bone-in ham. That's wild. Boneless is easier to slice. Bone-in has more flavor. Both boneless and bone-in hams are pork legs, available wet or dry. How do you get a boneless ham? How do you do that? I feel like it shouldn't. What is boneless ham? Aptly named, boneless ham doesn't contain any bone at all. The bone is removed before the ham is processed. See, that's crazy to me. And then tightly sealed. And nobody's like going like, hey, that's weird. So I guess it's originally in there. The bone's originally in there. And then they slide the bone out. And then do they fill the ham with extra ham meat? Or do they just kind of like put the ham in like a machine and like squeeze it together until it's like nice and enclosed? That's really strange. Every time like food's like super processed, I'm always like, what the heck? Like that's why I don't really eat hot dogs anymore, because they just shouldn't exist. Like the way that they're made is just like it just doesn't jive with logic. And if something doesn't jive with logic, it's usually weird and it shouldn't be consumed. How many turkeys are eaten on Thanksgiving? 46 million turkeys each Thanksgiving, 22 million on Christmas, and 19 million turkeys on Easter. Like literally every single holiday is just a influx to the economy. Like the stock market is like the outer shell of the economy, and the spikes of the economy are just wherever there's a holiday. Like I'm starting to figure out every single holiday is just for capitalism. Like everything from Turkey Day, which is like it's just a weird holiday, Thanksgiving, and then you have Christmas, which is the Christmas mushroom. Have you guys ever heard of this? I have a lot of things I want to say, but I'm gonna forget them all. So it's called, I think Rogan's talked about it before, 8 Ways Magic Mushrooms Explain Santa. So the story of Santa and his flying reindeer can be traced to an unlikely source, hallucinogenic or magic mushrooms, according to the theory. What is the... I gotta find it here. Okay, there it is. Okay, so 1, the Arctic shamans gave out mushrooms at the winter solstice, which is right around the time of Christmas. Winter solstice to December 21st. According to the theory, the legend of Santa derives from shamans in the Siberian and Arctic regions who dropped into locals' teepee-like homes with a bag full of hallucinogenic mushrooms as presents in the late December, Rush said. Rush is a anthropologist instructor at Sierra College in Rockland, California. It's really wild, like how much, like I gotta reach out to somebody. Actually, I'm gonna put that down real quick on my phone. Let me set that as a reminder. Do you guys use calendar or reminders? Reach out to a drug history expert. 9 a.m. That's fine on Thanksgiving. It's really weird once you start looking into the use of psychedelics culturally throughout the history of human civilization and just how tightly knitted they are when it comes to civilization. You know, especially around Christmas holidays, especially around faith. Faith is a big one. But I'm going to just name 8 things that this guy, this professor of anthropology at Sierra College, John Rush, is he said, quote, Santa is a modern counterpart of a shaman who consumed mind-altering plants and fungi to commune with the spirit world. It's just, I think it's very interesting. So that's the first one. They would pack up mushrooms to bring in the winter solstice. They would go to teepee-like houses. So just imagine a neighborhood, knock on the door, drop off some shrooms. And the shrooms were, as the story goes, up until a few hundred years ago, not that long ago, these practicing shamans or priests connected to the older traditions would collect Amanita muscaria, the holy mushroom, dry them, and then give them as gifts on the winter solstice. Rush told Life Science in an email, because snow is usually blocking doors, there was an opening in the roof through which people entered and exited, thus the chimney story. So this big fat guy flying around in the sky, dropping off gifts, he says it's just these shamans who are dropping off, mushrooms to people as gifts. And then since it snowed so much, they would use the chimney or just a hole in the roof to slide these shrooms down. Mushrooms like gifts are found beneath pine trees. So the mushrooms that they use as gifts, the hallucinogens, they grow in the Arctic under these pine trees. That's just one of the symbolic connections between the Amanita muscaria mushroom and the iconography of Christmas. According to several historians and ethnomycologists, or people who study fungi's influence on human societies. Of course, not all scientists agree that the Santa story is tied to hallucinogens. Get out of here. That's not fun. Let's have fun. Reindeer were shaman spirit animals. This gets weirder. Because up north in the Arctic, they're called reindeer. I think they're what are reindeer? I think caribou, also known as caribou. That's the other name of them. I remember being a kid, I was always like, why is Christmas like religious? I don't get it. But then they also have, it's kind of weird that they call him shaman or priest, but then they also talk about how when Jesus was born, the 3 wise men traveled and gave gifts to Jesus, which is the act of gift giving. And even if that's true, according to the Bible, which is the oldest text we have, it is true. But even if that's true, where does Santa Claus come into everything? Like, where does this big fat white dude come into everything who flies around on a reindeer? Where does this come into play? Reindeer are common in Siberia and Northern Europe and seek out these hallucinogenic fungi, so they eat these things, as the area human inhabitants have also been known to do. Donner Pfister at Harvard University, biologist who studies fungi, suggests that Siberian tribesmen who ingested largic agaric may have hallucinated that the grazing reindeer were flying. Quote, at first glance, one thinks it's ridiculous, but it's not, said Carl Ruck, a professor at Classic Boston University, who was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Whoever heard of reindeer flying? I think it's becoming general knowledge that Santa is taking a trip with his reindeer. Dude is getting high as hell with his animals, which is common, right? Don't people, I don't consume marijuana in any form. But I know plenty of people who do, and that's not a slight at anybody. I'm also not trying to take a stance on it. I'm the biggest backer of marijuana there possibly is. I just don't know what I want to do with my future as a career job, and I don't want that to be something that I don't get hired on. But I digress. Quote, amongst the Siberian shamans, you have an animal spirit. You can journey with in your vision quest. Ruck continued, and reindeer are common and familiar to people in eastern Siberia, so it's just a spirit animal. 4, shamans dress like Santa Claus. This is getting ridiculous. It's almost like, how can this not be common knowledge? Like, how do we not just 100% like be like, yeah, this is what Christmas is? The shamans also, quote, have a tradition of dressing up like the mushroom. They dress up in red suits and white spots. Ruck says, and anybody who says this is like ridiculous, just like look at a concert where people dress up with all the colorful neon lights. What do they call it? The ecstasy raves. I think they're just called raves, right? Where like people do a lot of like ecstasy and coke, and they put on a bunch of lights and they trip out. I think I'm going to go with raves. That's what these people are doing. Literally, he's dressing up like the drug that he's taking. They're dressing up like the drug he's taking, the red and white mushroom that's found under the tree. The same way that when you see people go to raves, they dress up as the colors of the visions that they get off of LSD and ecstasy and MDMA. I think. I don't know. I could be completely wrong with that. I'm just making that up. I've never been to a rave, but every time I see people dress up for a rave and like it's on like social media, I'm always like, oh, you're dressing up in the colors that you see when you're tripping, or you just like those colors. Maybe I could look that up. Why do people dress up in neon for raves? What shirt a girl wear to a rave? Why are rave outfits why are they so? The main reason why girls love to wear festival crop tops, bikini bottoms, and other revealing outfits is that they feel good in them. Okay, fair enough. What is the purpose of raves? The main purpose of rave is to get people up and dancing. Okay. Music festivals focus on the appreciation and quality of music itself, whether it makes you want to not dance. Okay, so they don't really have an answer for me, and I don't really feel like looking it up because, yeah, so they all wear super bright colors, so it'll probably have something to do with, like, the lights, too. They want to, like, be pretty. I don't know. Hey, I don't know anything. Whatever. I don't rave, so I shouldn't speculate. 5. Mushrooms abound in Christmas iconography. Tree ornaments shaped like amanita mushrooms and other depictions of the fungi are also prevalent in Christmas decorations throughout the world, particularly in Scandinavia and Northern Europe, Pfister pointed out. That said, Pfister made it clear that the connection between modern-day Christmas and the ancestral practice of eating mushrooms is a coincidence, and he doesn't know about any direct link. Well, that's a bummer. But we're going to continue to act like it's real. This is cute. Rudolph's nose resembles a bright red mushroom. Ruck, the guy at Boston University, points to Rudolph as another example of the mushroom imagery resurfacing. His nose looks exactly like a red mushroom. It's amazing that a reindeer with a red mushroom nose is at the head, leading the others. Many of these traditions were merged or projected upon St. Nicholas, a 4th century saint known for his generosity. As the story goes, there is little debate about the consumption of mushroom by Arctic and Siberian tribesmen and shamans, but the connection to Christmas tradition is more tenuous or mysterious. 7. A visit from St. Nicholas may have borrowed from shaman rituals. Many of the modern details of the modern-day American Santa Claus come from the 1823 poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, which later became the famous as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Oh, that's fascinating. A Visit from St. Nicholas, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. The poem is credited to Clement Clark Moore, an aristocratic academic who lived in New York City. Aristocratic is like the most privileged aristocrat. It seems like the most privileged name you can give. Is a form of government that places strength in the hands of a small, privileged ruling class. So yeah, aristocracy just sounds like a fucking dictatorship. Like, whenever you hear someone's aristocrat, you're like, you have a lot of baggage. You do some weird shit. You're the governor. You're Governor Newsom. You're Queen Elizabeth. Oh, you're a Bush. Oh, you're a Clinton. And you're untouchable, even if you do manage to get yourself mingled with Jeffrey Epstein and have illegal and underage relationships with young women. Girls, not even women, girls in Pervert Island. So, but if you're aristocrat, you apparently get away with all that. The origins of Moore's visions are unclear, although author Rush and Ruck all think the poet probably drew the Northern European motives that derive from Siberian and Arctic shamanic traditions. At the very least, author wrote Santa's sleigh and reindeer are probably references to very related Northern European mythology. For example, the Norse god Thor, known in German as Donner, that's fascinating, flew in a chariot drawn by 2 goats, which have been replaced in the modern retelling by Santa's reindeer, author wrote. It's really fascinating how mythology throughout the whole world is always so similar. If you're looking at Greeks, apparently mythology in Northern Europe, Native Americans mythology, African mythology, they all have gods that are very similar. They all have the same stories. The son or being outcasted by his family, winning, fighting off the devil, fighting off evilness, accomplishing something that wasn't supposed to be possible, risking his life, and then coming back, being accepted again by his tribe or by his people or by his family or by his father, more specifically. Or his father has passed away and he has to revenge. He has to, not revenge, but he has to be greater than his father. And then they win. And then they come out of the depths of hell to become a god. It's like it's almost like humans have like this innate fascination with tragedy. Life isn't a tragedy; it's a comedy, right? Isn't that what Joker said? I don't know who said that, but it is fascinating how most civilizations have had some type of mythological story to them. Other historians are unaware of the connection between Santa and shamans or magic mushrooms, including. Okay, I don't care. I don't care. Santa is from the Arctic. One historian, Ronald Hutton, told NPR that the theory of the mushroom Santa connection is flawed. How dare you? If you look at the evidence of Siberian shamanism, which I've done, Hutton said you find the shamans didn't travel by sleigh, didn't usually deal with reindeer spirits, very rarely took the mushroom to get trances, didn't have red and white clothes. So I think that there's always two sides of the story. I don't want to look at this one, but that's the issue with the world, right? That we don't look at the other side of the story. I totally get what he's saying, but also I don't know, like, I feel like people would just take shrooms and not even really think about them, right, at this time. But Rush and Ruck disagree, saying shamans did deal with reindeer spirits, and the ingestion of mushrooms is well documented. Siberian shamans did wear red deer pelts. Red deer pelts. That's weird. Why would they be red? What if it's blood? Oh, it's probably blood. Probably frozen blood on them, right? That makes sense. But the coloring of Santa's garb is mainly meant to mirror the coloring of a meat of mushrooms, Rush said. As for sleighs, the point isn't the exact mode of travel, but the trip also involves transportation to a different celestial realm, Rush said. Sometimes people who also drink the urine of the shaman of the reindeer as hallucinogenic compounds are extracted this way, without some of the harmful chemicals present in the fungi, which are broken down by the shaman or the reindeer. Rush said that's common, right? Don't animals do that? I think. I don't know. Maybe not. I also think that like people like Mr. Hutton, Ronald Hutton, who's a historian, who just is a historian. I wonder where he is. He looks like he yeah. Well, he looks like he's taken a large amount of drugs. So I was gonna make a bold statement saying that he doesn't consume drugs. I can't really tell. He looks like he kind of looks like a drug himself. Looks like he yeah, the dog is barking. I love when the dog barks. It looks like he's a drug himself. But I'm not too sure. But it is a fascinating story. It's cool to think about that maybe Christmas is just off the basis of hallucinogens, which would be, to me, it would be beautiful. To a lot of people, I don't think it'd be beautiful. But to me, it kind of gives reason to Christmas. But people, and he's, Ruck finishes, people who know about shamanism accept this theory. Ruck said, is there any other reason that Santa lives in the North Pole? It is a tradition that can be traced back to Siberia. So that's cool, right? That's my little tidbit on Christmas. But back to Thanksgiving, because this is the holiday that we're all here for. So let's get my little turkey guy up. I actually think he's a chicken. I don't think he's a turkey. But who cares, right? I'm a human. I don't care about the difference. I eat them both anyways. But I'd much rather have chicken. Some amazing stuff happening within these next 3 months on the podcast. The basis of this podcast, I've come to just kind of accept it now, that the basis of this podcast is solo podcasting. It's something that I built a platform off of. It's something that I very much enjoy doing. Some days are better than others. Like last podcast was pretty shitty. This one I feel like is a lot better. Like I have a lot more energy. And I'm also going to be gone for a few days and I get paid tomorrow. Well, if you guys will watch, whatever, I gotta stop dating my podcast. I love when my dog just constantly barks at nothing while I'm trying to do a podcast. I need to get the hell out of this house and at least have my own studio so I can record my own podcast, have people come over, and not have a dog that is basically a wolf, can't say that word, a wolf barking the entire freaking time. And I'm also trying to cuss a little bit less because cursing does affect my ads, and I gotta make money, man. I hate when people aren't honest. I got to make the money on this podcast. That is so important. Whenever you trade your time for anything, you have to make money for it. So I'm trying to just maintain a more civilized level of cursing so I can maintain a healthy stream of revenue for my my podcast, which is my business. But Thanksgiving's right around the corner. Few things happened. The big thing that's happening right now is Donald Trump is starting to concede, which finally, right? I mean, he's pretty much losing in every state where he's trying not to concede. I wonder if you can find the election results. Yeah, 306 to 232. Donald Trump definitely got he got whacked, man. He didn't do too well. The guy didn't he didn't kick ass. I can tell you, the DC's hilarious, dude. DC was 93% Joe Biden, 5.4% Donald Trump, which is so funny. I've never thought of DC as like super democratic, but it is. I've just never thought of it like that. I don't know why. There's no other state that was even close to that. But since he finally conceded, what that means for the stock market, which at this point is, it's really weird if you just had your money in the market and you couldn't, I don't know how you would do it, but somehow you just had money in the market and you were completely blind to the rest of the world, you would never know that we have been living through a pandemic. You would never know that we're in the beginning or in the middle or hopefully coming out of it, but I just don't see that happening, of a recession. Like, you just wouldn't have any idea. The market has been just blazing lately, like really well. And I don't know exactly. It's worrisome. A lot of people, a lot of experts, quote unquote, people that just randomly say something to me, like at work or out in the streets or whatever. A lot of them say it's artificially being held up, and I get it. I understand that, like, it's like the Tesla effect. But the one thing I'm struggling comprehending is that even if it is artificially, even if you can make that claim that the market's artificially being held up, what does that mean exactly? Because it's being, the reason why it's doing well is because people are buying. Is it because people are putting out news that's only positive instead of negative? But even if that's the case, it doesn't matter. Like, it would be artificially crashing if they decided to put out only negative news. It seems to me like, so the way I look at the market is it's a panic meter, right? Buy when people are panicking, don't buy when people are celebrating. And to me, that's how I look at it, right? And I've made a few purchases where I probably shouldn't have, but they're paying off now. Like recently, I just bought BLOK, which is a ETF that is, it doesn't track Bitcoin exactly, but it's called Amplified Transformational Data Sharing ETF. And basically what it does is its top holdings are Galaxy Digital Holdings, Silvergate Capital, Square, Z Holdings, JD.com, PayPal. So it works with it. It's big. And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take anything I say as factual information. But it works closely with companies and management funds that have a high percentage holding in the use of Bitcoin. And I'm not the biggest expert on Bitcoin, but I do think it is going to be enough of a source of money transactions to make you money in the future. So I went ahead and bought a few shares of that. I also bought a bunch of shares of I think it's called THCX. THCX ETF, yeah, which is kicking so much ass right now and making me so much money. The whole market today is kicking ass. It's Tuesday, by the way. And the reason why I bought THCX was because when Biden got elected, I was like, holy shit, Democrats love weed. They legalize weed. So let's just buy a lot of it. Actually got a lot of help from my from my buddy at work. But they own Grow Generation, Village Farms, Afria, Canopy, Gronos, Aurora. They own these huge weed companies. So they've been making me a lot of money. And then obviously S&P and QQQ, which is top 100 tech companies throughout the country. But ever since President-elect Biden has been finally been given permission to start the transition from Donald Trump to Biden, the market has been kicking ass. Because it's like I said, it's panic, right? So if you can reduce that panic as much as you can, people will buy more. When people are buying, the market's soaring. That's when you're making your money. It cuts down a little bit. People sell. That's when you're not losing money, because you only lose money when you sell money. But that's when you buy when others are selling. Thank God that's not a universal rule, because then no one would buy. It would just be held by like the top 1% of people, which it pretty much already is. But like when you see the market crashing, that's when you see the biggest moves happening when it comes to like really wealthy people. Like that's the best time to buy. Like Warren Buffett says, buy when it's stock market's the only industry where people refuse to buy discounted prices. Like if you can buy Tesla for 50% off, buy Tesla, especially if you bought Tesla the beginning of last week, which was like, I don't know, the 15th. If you bought Tesla then, you've made a couple $1,000 depending on how much you bought. But that's really good that he's finally conceding. I'm not like making a political statement, not like a party statement, not like a personal opinion statement. I'm just saying strictly for the market, strictly for my income from the market and people's income across the country. It's a good thing, and I think it's good that it's happening in a semi-peaceful way, as peaceful as we could expect from Donald Trump. So that's a beautiful thing. Another thing I wanted to get at real quick before I did end the podcast. So a lot of states are starting to shut down again, not allowed to travel. One thing I do want to say is if you're going to travel, and also I probably shouldn't say this because who am I to tell you to do anything, but I think it's a good idea to get tested. Just because if, as much as I don't want to see the country locked down again, I don't want to see the state locked down again. Seems like Governor Larry Hogan's coming out every day and he's enforcing new rules. I don't want that. Right? So do you. You don't want that either. Nobody wants that. And the people who do want that are very bad people. People who want to lock down, those are, you don't want those people in your life. And I even think the governors, I hear it all the time. People say they're just corrupt. They just want to lock down, blah, 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 blah. I don't think they want to lock down, right? I don't think anybody wants to lock down besides the people who do. Fuck those people. YouTube, I take back that curse word. Don't yell at me. Oh, YouTube, also give me the applaud button. There's like a new thing on YouTube. It's a beta version right now, but it goes right next to like and dislike, and you can applaud and give money to the creator, which is awesome, which I'm going to definitely implement. Patreon's going to be like, F you, YouTube. But I think they're choosing a lockdown because they're so fearful of the rising numbers, which makes perfect sense. I know somebody who's lost 3 family members. I know somebody who's in a coma for like 3 or 4 months. I forget what it was. I know a lot of people who've gotten really sick. It's not fake. They're not doing it to just like get at you. Like they're not trying to get revenge. Like you're not that special. Like you got to realize you're not that special. Like they don't care about you that much. They're trying to do what's best for the American people, and sometimes what's best for the American people is not what they want. And I'm not a proponent of shutting anything down. Like I'm not. I want to stay open. I think the most important thing you could do with COVID is take care of your health, which is something that no news outlet and nobody's talking about besides the podcast world, like Rogan. But nobody's talking about health. But you have to take care of your health. Having a healthy immune system will decrease your chances of COVID kicking your ass tremendously. Like it will significantly decrease the rate of you getting badly infected. You can fact check me on that. I'm not an expert. I'm just making a personal statement. So with that being said, but I still think it's a good idea to get tested. For example, they were doing fast testing here. Where I live in Annapolis, right at the state capitol. I went down there, I got tested, a rapid test before I go away to Thanksgiving, because I am going away for Thanksgiving. Everybody that I'm going to Thanksgiving with is all getting tested. We're doing it as safe as possible. I'm hang out with people, hang out with your family, hang out with people you love. I just think that you still have to live a life during this pandemic. You can't let this thing just eat you alive and make you scared to walk out of your house. And I think that's dangerous, because I think we can understand the fear of COVID, but we cannot really rationalize the long-term effect of dealing with COVID, as in people staying home for months on end, as people not seeing family during Thanksgiving. You're going to see a record number of old people just dying within these next 3 months, not from COVID, from just heartbreak and depression. Because one of the higher, I've got this from a Theo Vaughn podcast, so don't fact check me, but one of the higher months of death for senior citizens is January, or like January, February. Because they hold off for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then they pass away. They try to spend those last 3 months with people that they love, people that are close to them. And then they just kind of not give up on life, but they accept that life is over, and they're happy with it. Like, that's how my grandmother passed away, I think in March. She made it, I think March 27th, she made it just after my sister's birthday. It's hard for me to talk about her. I miss her. She would have got COVID and fucking crushed it. She would have killed COVID. Fucking grandma was such a badass, dude. She's the best, man. There's nobody else like her. She was a guiding light in my life. She taught me she used to always tell me, take care of my family. Take care of the ones close to you. And I think I've done a good job. But I fucking miss her, man. Fucking miss her, dude. She was something. I wish she would have been able to meet Taylor. It's one of the things that it bothers me. It's because she would have loved her. She would have loved everything about her. My grandma's probably the nicest person I've ever ran into, but my Taylor, she's up there. She's worthy to sit next to Grandma Mary on kindness. Just a kind soul, a happy person, someone who would literally do anything for you. But she held off. She held off for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and when she died, she looked like she decided to die, not that she had to die, which I think is powerful. She decided to die. She didn't let death take her. And I know biologically it doesn't make sense, but fuck science right now. She used to always tell me, this is my conflict with religion because of her. God damn it, Grandma. Sorry, I said God and damn together, Grandma. Stop yelling at me in heaven or whatever you're doing, wherever you are. In fucking Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, dude. When she passed away, she had pounds and pounds of chocolate hidden in her oven, just sitting there. And she had diabetes. She wasn't supposed to be eating that shit. She didn't care. She decided to die after she met everybody. And I would say that she knows Taylor. I would say that confidently. But she was beautiful. She'd always tell me I had my guardian angel was always above me, watching out for me. And anytime I would almost hurt myself, she would say, "Oh, guardian angel protected you." She was magical, man. She was magical. She was the closest thing to magic I've ever seen, and I think I don't feel that way about a lot of people. She was beautiful. She was such a beautiful soul. She was so magnificent. She always saw the best in people. She never saw the worst in people. She was what you wanted to be in your life. So that's that. Before I start crying on the podcast, I'm going to end it here. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Enjoy it with the people you love. Be kind to people. We can all get through COVID together if we just come together and act like one human being that we are, and stop yelling at each other about everything that doesn't matter. Start caring about each other. Start caring for yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Take care of your loved ones. Guys, thank you so much for always showing so much love on this podcast. I promise you 2021 is going to be a beautiful year for me and the show, for everything, for life. It's going to be a beautiful year. There's going to be a lot of babies being made soon. Not like personally, but like soon. Like, I'm going to end the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll catch you guys on Tuesday.